All right, guys, welcome back to another top 10 for 2020. Today's video is all about my top 10 video games of the year. So this is obviously the most exciting video of all. These are my top 10 games across everything. It could be on the Switch, on the Xbox, on the PC, on the PS4, on the PS5, on the Xbox Series X, anything. VR, of course. Anything that I want to put on this list is fair game. And I have a really good list for you guys this year. I'm really excited about this list. So let's go ahead and get into my top 10 games of 2020.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a recce is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, my game coming in at number 10 is Phasmophobia. This game has been a critical hit all over the place. It is a VR game, but it also can be played on Steam in regular 2D, and people play it in multiple different ways. But in VR, it definitely made my game of the year, and VR is an outstanding game. One of the scariest games in VR I've ever played. A fun cooperative game where you and 3 other players are going around, going into either schools, haunted houses, farmhouses, all these different type of environments, and you're trying to determine what type of ghost is in there. You're basically ghost hunters. You're using all your different equipment that you have, EMF readers, all these different things, and you're trying to determine what type of ghost is in there. You're looking at a manual that you have in front of you, and you're trying to find this ghost to determine, hey, is it a demon? Is it this kind of ghost, that kind of ghost, by the clues that the ghost is leaving you. Depending on if he writes on a ghost book, or how he acts when you guys are in the room, if you're alone or if you're with others, all these different kind of things. But the environments and how the ghosts react to you are scary as hell. When you're going into a school, and I've done live streams on this before, but when you're in a school and the school is gigantic and you end up losing all your other 4 people or 3 people that you're with, and you're literally scrambling around the house trying to figure out what to do next, because you just don't know where the ghost is, and then out of nowhere you're just in a corridor by yourself. You're freaking out. It's really eerie. The music, of course, that's playing. And the ghost starts making some noises that he's around you. You start hearing the heartbeat and stuff, picking up the pace, and then the ghost appears, and you just start freaking out. It's just a one of a kind cooperative experience to play with your friends, especially in VR. And it's one of the scariest horror games I've played, and it's a fantastic game in its own right. A lot of different ghosts to look at and capture and determine which is which. The developer's always adding new areas to go into, so different houses to explore and stuff like that, from small, medium, and large environments. So this is a fantastic game, guys. If you guys have VR, definitely not to be missed. And again, it's also a great game to play in 2D. Although I think it's a much better game in VR, but that's, of course, just my opinion. That's Phasmophobia coming in at number 10. The next one on my list here, coming in at number 9, is Crash It's About Time. Now, I've been playing Crash Bandicoot, of course, since the PlayStation, original PlayStation, and it's one of my favorite platformers that I played on here. And we've all been waiting for a sequel to Crash. Crash 3 came out years ago, and we finally got our sequel here in Crash 4, It's About Time. And it is fantastic, guys. If you guys are even a little bit of a fan of Crash and you're into platformers and stuff, this game is so well designed in the level design. Every single level feels like a new adventure, has new ideas, new things to be able to do. Crash has, different powers that he can use and stuff like that. But what really makes it stand out is just the level design. The level design is so cool, so different from one another, and I'm just having a blast with this game. And, it's easily one of my favorite platforms to come out in a long time. Like I said, the creativity on this game is just skyrocketing. And the graphics, of course, are fantastic. Even though this game came out right at the end of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox life cycle, it's a fantastic game regardless. And, just, guys, do not miss this. If you guys are Crash fans, do not miss this one. Check it out on the PlayStation 4. I know it came out on the end of the life cycles and people may skip it and stuff, but it is backwards compatible. Play it on your Xbox Series X. Play it on your PlayStation 5, because it's a fantastic platformer, guys. That's Crash Bandicoot. It's About Time, coming in at number 9. The next one on this list is probably going to cause a little bit of controversy for those of you guys who can't run this game very well right now. And I, of course, am talking about Cyberpunk 2077. This was the most highly anticipated game of the year by basically everybody in the goddamn world, and it was mine as well. And the reason that this one's lower on the list is just the nature of it, because obviously a lot of us can't play this game right now because it runs terrible on the original Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. It runs okay for people on the Series X, from what I've heard, and on the PlayStation 5, but I am playing this on the PC, luckily on a 3080, so I have the horsepower to run it, and yes, there are a lot of bugs in the game regardless, but I'm not having the insane amount of issues that the people are having on the original Xbox and PlayStation 4, so I'm able to enjoy this game much more, and so far, I'm loving the game. I'm loving the environment, I'm loving the Cyberpunk world, I'm loving, you know, the stories and the characters and that I'm getting into and what I'm developing, and the combat's fun too. The reason it's not higher on my list is just because of how many bugs there are in this game. The issues that people are having on their systems as well keeps it a little bit down, but also I just haven't finished the game either, because this game obviously has hours and hours that you can play. It's about 30 hours that you can play for just the main story if you want to just, you know, jump right into the main story and not do any of the side content, but I'm not playing it that way. You know, I'm doing things as they progress. I'm in no rush to finish this game, and of course more and more patches are coming out. They're already on like their 4th or 5th patch, you know, updating the game and making it better and better, so that's good to see that they're at least on top of it. But it is unfortunate that this game released in this state because so many people were looking forward to it, and a lot of the people out there can't play this game at all or are having serious issues. I'm fortunate enough to only have bugs that don't really alter the gameplay for me so far in the game that I've played. So what I've played so far, guys, is fantastic, and I urge you guys to try it once the bugs are fixed on your retrospective systems. That's Cyberpunk 2077 coming in at number 8. The next one on this list is such a fantastic game that kind of came out of nowhere. It's Astro Playroom on the PlayStation 5, and guys, this is what really wowed me on the PlayStation 5. When I picked up the DualSense controller and I started playing this game, I couldn't stop smiling. The interactions that you have with the controller, how each environment that you're stepping on feels different. The sand feels different from the water, and when you're jumping on platforms, it feels different. When you're on top of metal, your controller feels different. The haptic feedback on the PlayStation 5 controller really sets it apart from anything I've experienced before, and this game has it in droves. And not only is that working really well, but the game is just a fantastic platformer in general. It's literally a history down, you know, PlayStation's history. If you guys are PlayStation fans, regardless on the controller stuff, you need to play this game because there's so many intricate things that are left for PlayStation fans in general. Things from the history of PlayStation that you're going through these levels that really make this game stand out. The only thing I have against is that I wish it was just longer than the 3 to 4 hours that the game lasts. But what we have in here is a fantastic history into the PlayStation's long future, and it is a fantastic game to show off the PlayStation 5. And of course, it's free. It literally comes with the PlayStation 5. You literally have no excuse if you have the PlayStation 5 to not play this game, guys. It's one of my favorite experiences of 2020. Which I did a video on as well of all my favorite experiences. Check that one out if you haven't. And one of my favorite games, of course, as you see on this list, coming in at number 7, that is Astro's Playroom on the PlayStation 5. The next one on my list here is from Supergiant Games, and, you know, when I first heard of this game, Hades, and I was like, it's an action roguelike game, and I'm not really the biggest person into roguelike games. Because I'm not into replaying over and over again to just get past a certain section. That's usually not the style of game that I usually falter to, but this one from Supergiant Games, I've loved their other 2 previous games, you know, Pyre and stuff like that, that they've done, and, you know, being the pedigree that this studio comes from, I had to give this one a chance, and guys, it's fantastic. I'm really glad that this game, you know, kept being crammed into me from all the people who saying that it was their game of the year and stuff. And I finally gave this game a chance, and the art style immediately stands out, but the art style is fantastic in this game. Just look at how good this game looks, and it's running on the Nintendo Switch, which is where I'm playing it, and it's also available on PC, but it's so good, the art style that they have, and the different variety of enemies that are in the game to fight, all the upgrades that you can do in here, and, you know, over 40 hours of gameplay that you get in this one, just doing the main story, and you can keep going because there's modifiers that you can do to make the game harder and stuff like that. And the combat, of course, the most important part of the game, is so satisfying, so much fun to play. This is probably my favorite game from them, which is crazy because I already love their other 2, and I almost skipped on this one because it's not usually a game that I falter into, but I'm so glad I did it. Guys, do not miss this one if you guys are fans of action, RPG, roguelike games. That's Hades, coming in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is probably not a surprise to most people, and that is Animal Crossing on the Nintendo Switch. I've been waiting for Animal Crossing on the Switch for such a long time, like many of us have, and when it finally came to the Switch, it came at a time where a lot of us are stuck at home, not being able to go out, unfortunately, due to the pandemic that is still occurring around the world, and this game came in at a perfect time. It's the perfect game to, you know, get into and, you know, develop your island, you know, take care of it, meet all your Animal Crossing friends, you know, go in there and play with your other friends and make the best island you can in a time that we're not going to a lot of places, and this is the perfect game for it. They did a fantastic job with the game on the Switch. Of course, it's still getting constant updates. Now we're in the holiday season where we're developing, you know, giving presents and stuff to you know, get these holiday items and stuff like that. And I hope that they, you know, keep working on this game and keep adding new features to it over the months of 2021 because the game is fantastic. It actually got my wife to buying her own Switch because she was having so much fun with it. So I got her own Switch. She plays and has her own island, and I have my own island on my own Nintendo Switch. And we both have a blast playing this. We log in all the time just to see what our villagers are doing, see what's going on in the world, see what new updates are doing, and just keep playing it over and over again. It is a game that I have put the most amount of hours into this year because it's obviously a game that's infinite, and it's definitely the one I've played the most. And I'm excited for what they do in 2021 with this game, and I hope it continues. Animal Crossing New Horizons coming in at number 5 on the Nintendo Switch. The next one on this list kind of actually caught me by surprise because I knew that this game was coming, but I did not expect to know how good this game was going to be. That is Star Wars Squadrons. Star Wars Squadrons is the game that in VR I've been waiting for. Granted, you don't have to play this game in VR, but that is how I play this game from back to front, and that is how I recommend playing it. If you guys can get your hands on a VR system on the PC, whether it be on the Oculus Quest using a virtual desktop or the Oculus Link cable or the Valve Index, whichever way you play it, guys, this is a Star Wars game that we've all been waiting for. This is my dream Star Wars game of what I wanted in VR, and they did a fantastic job. The story is so much fun. The missions are well designed. Using a flight stick controller while having my VR headset really makes me feel like I'm in there. The graphics are fantastic in this one. It runs super well on my 3080 on the PC. And like I said, there's not much else to be said about this game. The graphics look fantastic. The gameplay is fantastic. The story's fun. And the game came out of nowhere. And it has not just a campaign that's about 9 hours long, which is substantial in VR, but that has a full multiplayer mode of dogfighting with a few modes in there that you can basically play forever. And they were originally going to add content into this game. I guess they kind of thought it was going to be a one and done, but they've gotten so much people around the world saying how much fun this game is and how they actually do want extra content in this game. They've actually added some updates to the game. They've actually added new ships and stuff for the dogfighting online and stuff, which is more than what they said they would do. So I'm excited to see that, and they're still balancing the online and stuff like that. So this game is fantastic. Definitely one of my favorite Star Wars games that EA has put out, and obviously one of my favorite games of 2020, and I'm glad that this exists because I'll be playing this one forever. This is a game that I'll be showing people who are Star Wars fans coming over to play VR. This is the one to show them, and it's a dream come true for me on how well this game turned out to be, and kind of surprised me when it released. Guys, do not miss this one if you guys are Star Wars fans and fans of VR. That is Star Wars Squadrons coming in at number 4. The next one on this list shouldn't be a surprise to those of you who watched my last year's video, because last year I really liked that Spider-Man game, and this is Spider-Man Miles Morales, the sequel to that one, and they did just as much of a good job, if not better, than the original. Of course, this one being a shorter game than the original Spider-Man of 2017. This one is about 8 to 10 hours of gameplay in this one, but the graphics obviously got a really giant upgrade now that this is obviously a PlayStation 5 game, especially with the ray tracing turned on, and it looks fantastic. I love the story that was told in this game. I love the graphics. The gameplay is just as solid as always, but the powers that Miles Morales has really makes this game even more fun than I was having with the original. I love the powers that he has. It's just so satisfying. The combat's as satisfying as ever, but with his new powers incorporating into that, it's just so much fun. And this is the Spider-Man game that we loved in 2017, but amped up for 2020. And they did a fantastic job with this one. I was worried about it a little bit because I was like, oh, they're already putting on another one with how fast that they just created it 2 years later. But they really did. They did a fantastic job. The only complaint, of course, is, everyone wants the games to be longer. This only being like a 10-ish hour experience. But what's here is fantastic, and it's not something that PlayStation 5 fans should miss at all. If you just got your console and you're looking for an outstanding story-based game to play, this is one of the highlights and one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 5 so far. And I'm having a blast with it. They did a fantastic job with the story, with the graphics, everything about it I'm having so much fun with, guys. Definitely not one to miss out on in 2021 when you guys get your PlayStation 5s and it becomes easier to have. That is Spider-Man Miles Morales coming in at number 3.
My time now. My time.
Coming in at number 2 is, of course, one of my favorite games in VR. The standout game that came out in early 2020 for VR that kind of set the standard and still sets the standard for VR going forward, and that is Half-Life Alyx. Half-Life Alyx, guys, if you guys are Half-Life fans and you have a VR headset and you don't have a VR headset, go buy one because this is a system seller. This is the best game in VR that's been created so far. And of course, it came from Valve, so that shouldn't surprise a lot of people. But the graphics in this game, especially if your card can handle being all cranked up to high, is fantastic. One of my favorite games in VR that have come out to date, still even after 2020 has come all along. And the story being told in this one is fantastic. The interactions that this game can do in VR and how they did some interactions and the physics in this game really make it stand out. Something that a lot of other VR games don't get right, but the physics in this game, the objects that you're grabbing and you're playing with and how everything interacts and how everything looks is just done in a masterclass form, and it's definitely going to go down as one of the best VR games to be ever made. Hopefully Valve has another game cooking up from them, which I heard that they do, because what they did here as their first game in VR is already one of the best, easily in the top 3 VR games ever created, and people will argue that it's probably the top 1 so far, for sure. So, guys, if you guys are VR fans, this is obviously the best VR game of the year, so do not miss this one because it's fantastic and it's done by Valve and it's done as well as we would hope it would be from the first game from that studio. Here's to hoping they make more games going forward. Half-Life Alyx, guys, coming in at number 2. And my number 1 game of 2020. I can see everybody screaming right now. Half the world who loves this game and half the world who hates it. And that is The Last of Us Part 2. This is my favorite franchise on the PlayStation, bar none. I love the original. And when I played the second one, I couldn't put it down. I beat the game in under a week, which, for those of you who know me personally, is a rarity for me because I like to rotate games all the time. And the fact that I beat this game in under a week and I kept playing it and I got so into it, I know that there's a lot of controversy with this game by half the people who love the way that the story went and how it ended, and the other half the world that, doesn't like the ending, doesn't like the character switching and all that stuff that happened in the game. But I loved every single minute of this game. I love the story that it told. I love how I went from liking a character to then hating the next character that showed up to then actually feeling bad for her and then actually ending up liking her as well. It's just crazy, the emotions and the emotion roller coaster that you go through this game. I think it's fantastic. I don't really care about what everyone else thinks. This is obviously my favorite game of the year. No question, bar none, one of my favorite experiences I had in 2020. And the only thing sad about it is that it ended, and I can't wait to actually go and 5 years from now replay this game again, because that's how much fun I had and re-experience the story again, see if I missed anything that I may have not heard the first time. But I can't wait to see if they actually make another sequel to this game. It's definitely possible, and I hope they do. This is one of, like I said, my favorite franchise from the Sony side, and I love The Last of Us Part 2. So guys, don't miss this one. Don't listen to the haters. Feel for it yourself. You never know what side you're going to fall on. So The Last of Us Part 2, my favorite game of 2020. Guys, I really hope that you enjoyed my 2020 list, and I hope you guys are having, as good of a year as we all can in these days. And happy holidays, guys. And thank you guys for watching.
Maybe you should have.
Tech, gaming techie is the gaming tech, gaming techie, gaming tech. Eating brekkie is the gaming tech, going for a recce is the gaming tech, gaming techie is the gaming tech, gaming techie.